Today, we're going to talk about how to deal with negative reviews. What do we do when somebody posts something, whether fair or not, whether it was legit or not, whether this person even knew you or not? The negative reviews can and will happen. It's human nature for us to want to try and fight back and get pissed off. Our ego is bruised. We want to defend ourselves. But is that really the best way to deal with a negative review when it's online and when the world can see it? First, I want to ask you, have you ever been pissed off enough about a product or a service that you've received where it wasn't meeting your expectations and you were pissed off enough to write a negative review, either on social media or like on Amazon or on that company's website? Have you ever done it yourself? I want to kind of ask you also to think about, how would you feel if you were on the receiving end of that negative review? And I know that the answer is going to be all over the place. There's some people who are going to say, well, it's fully justified. They should feel sorry and bad for what I did, or for what they did. I mean, and they should fix this. But what if you were the one who received that negative review? You provided a product or a service to your clients. You did everything in your integrity to do whatever it is that they were asking for. And out of the blue, you get a negative review. They're pissed off for one reason or another. It could be that, your product or service did not meet the expectations, or maybe the product was broken when it got received, or maybe the shipping was later than what it was expected to be. Maybe things were completely out of your control. So from a business perspective, how did you feel about that when you received that kind of negative review? What did you do about it too? What we want to do is monitor and manage how we respond to these negative reviews. And I'm going to talk in two different parts here. One is when that negative review comes from a legitimate client. And then I'm also going to refer to and respond to how to deal with negative reviews that come from non-clients. You don't have any idea who this person is. Ultimately, they're a fake review, and that happens. It happens a lot, and that's what has happened to us here at eVision Media quite a bit. Let's first talk about when the complaint is legitimate. The first thing that you want to do is not do what your instincts are going to want to do. Instinctively, we want to get on the defensive. We want to delete that review. We're horrified. We don't want the world to see that somebody else has complained about us. And that's perfectly normal. You have to resist that temptation to argue back, to delete, to defend yourself, to blame somebody else or something else. One of the reasons why I asked you at the beginning if you have ever written a bad review is because I want you to think about, when you're writing that review, what did you want to have happen? Like, most people are not writing a bad review just for the sake of venting and not expecting anything in return. Think of this in terms of, if you were that person doing the review, what would you want to see happen? We want to be heard. We want to know that our issue, our complaint has been acknowledged, and that somebody actually cares enough to have a conversation with us to find out, okay, how can we make this right? And use this as an opportunity to have a second chance that you can rectify. Because you know what? I don't know what the stat is, but I think it's something like 1 person out of 10 will actually complain, where the other 9 will silently begrudge you and will never say anything good about you, and will certainly never do business with you again, and will certainly have no problem telling their friends that, oh, don't ever do business with them, or don't buy that product because it's crap. So that 1 person is actually doing you a huge, huge favor in bringing something to your attention. Because if you can make that one person feel like they've been heard and been taken care of respectfully, they will not be that negative person in behind the scenes that you have no idea of what's going on, right? It's all happening behind your back. So use this as a gift. These negative reviews, when they're legit, when they're from legitimate clients, whether the issue that they're complaining about is legit or not, they thought it was enough for them to complain about it, right? And what you want to do is you want to respond in that professional manner by saying, how grateful that you are that they brought this to your attention. Always be polite. Even if they have said all kinds of nasty things about you, that doesn't mean that you need to steep down to their level and fight back, right? So you need to, and it might not be all that easy to do because it is fighting against human nature, but you need to be that person that is going to handle this in a professional manner and thank them for their honesty. And, like I said, don't lose your cool. Just try to open up a dialogue and find out what happened and, make sure that they feel like they have been heard. Because as I said, that's one of the biggest things that they're looking into. So you definitely want to avoid getting into a shouting match with them. Even if you think you're 100% right, that doesn't mean that they know that, right? They're not just complaining just because they woke up one day and said, oh, who am I going to complain about today? That just doesn't happen. Well, maybe it does, but that would go into the category of the fake reviews. Another thing to do is make sure that you respond to these complaints in a very prompt manner, like take care of them immediately. Don't let them sit there for hours on end or days. The online world does operate in a 24/7 hour cycle. And so people will be cognizant of how fast a response comes back. The quicker you respond and acknowledge and thank them for their feedback, the better the situation is going to be. They're going to immediately feel like, oh, I've just been heard. Isn't that great? The other thing that you want to make sure you do is try to take the issue offline as soon as possible. You don't want to get into this back and forth, he said, she said, shouting match. The best kind of response is thanking them and saying, can I give you a quick call or can I send you an email? Let's talk this through so I can get a better understanding of what the issue is, and let's see how we can make this better for you. How can we rectify this? Unfortunately, some people will complain and try to get something for free or just for the sake of complaining, like I was saying. And so you do have to be cognizant of that. In each individual situation is, are they actually trying to just get something free for you and they're making stuff up? Still deal with it in a professional manner, but you might have to just gauge, which one is, to be considered a legitimate concern and which one is, okay, this is, just not the way it should be. So you have to be careful about how you bring yourself into that online world, and how you're dealing with these complaints is making a lasting impression on other people, the people who are your, clients and prospective clients. The other thing that you want to do is, if this is a legitimate complaint, if it isn't somebody just waking up one morning and saying, who am I going to target today? I'm in a miserable mood and I feel like complaining. What if that complaint is legitimate? They got poor service at a restaurant, or, the delivery didn't happen on time, or something was damaged when they got it, or, the expectations weren't met. So what you want to do is try to rectify it, right? Talk to your wait staff if it was really poor service. Find out, okay, what happened? What happened that night? Why did this happen? And then try to make up for it with the customer. Offer them, a gift certificate, or refund their shipping costs if the shipping was late. Do something that you yourself would want to see happen if you were in that situation. That's kind of the best way to make it right, to make everybody whole. People want to be heard, but they also want to become whole. So do what needs to be done. And you want your business to come across as having integrity. So do the right thing And even if it means that you've lost some money in the meantime, if it means having a happy customer, that will get you far better returns in the long run than having an unhappy customer who is going to tell hundreds of people about how bad your business is. Think about that for a second. That one loss could be exponential if you don't deal with it in a right way. So let's talk about something that I think is even more prevalent is the fake reviews, the non-client reviews, where just randomly out of the blue, somebody who you have no idea who they are has left a bad review. It's either on Facebook or on Yelp. Yelp would be a big one. And unfortunately, there's a lot of nefarious competitors out there, especially in our environment in the web development industry. There's a ton of competition, and the competitors feel that, oh, well, one way to make us look better than those guys is to write bad reviews about those guys. And so they hire people to write bad reviews, and they get their friends to write positive reviews about them. And maybe they can talk their friend into writing a negative review about somebody else. But it happens a lot. And it's happened to us on Google. We've had negative reviews from just random people. We have no idea who they are. Even on YouTube, I've had negative reviews on my some of my YouTube videos, and I look at these profiles and they're shell profiles. Like, they're obviously not a real person, a legitimate person who would really be interested in watching my reviews. They're just being hired to actually write these bad reviews, these fake reviews. And so, unfortunately, because they still happen, we still need to take them very seriously, because the general public doesn't know that they are fake, right? What we need to do is do what we can to offset those reviews. If you feel that that a review has come in from a third-party service like YouTube or Yelp, you still need to deal with it, and you can also report that review, right? So Yelp has an opportunity for you to report a fake review. And Yelp, according to them, they say that they have a pretty good filtering system on Yelp, saying that they filter out about 25% of reviews that they think is fake. But if those do get through, the ones that are fake or biased or solicited, there's been obviously somebody's been paid to say that. What you can do is click on, there's a little small flag shaped button down in the bottom right hand corner of that review, and then you can report that review, and then somebody, a actual person from Yelp will go ahead and take a look at it, and they can remove it. In Facebook, if it happens on Facebook, you can just delete it off of your review page. It would still be a good idea to reply to it, though. Still reply in a professional manner and say, this happened to us once before, where we kind of replied and saying, hi, so-and-so, we're not sure who you are. We haven't done business with you, but if you do have a concern with us, please give us a call. This is our phone number. We're more than happy to talk with you and find out, what has happened. And of course, you'd never hear back from them. But to the general public, they are seeing that, that you have responded to that review, because again, they don't know if that review is actually fake or not. So Yelp will even show consumers if an alert of a business has been caught red-handed trying to pay somebody to write, change, or remove bad reviews. And so that's a good thing. Yelp is actually, trying to stay on top of this as best that they can. So either it's been reported by someone who has been offered a payment, or as we saw in one case, the business had posted an ad on Craigslist to get people to write reviews. So some people are just not all that smart about that, Let's post an ad and get people to write bad reviews for us. Now, it's a little bit harder to deal with negative reviews on the Google My Business page. You'll have to report that review manually to Google Small Business Support. You can click on the home menu and select support choose the method of contact, either phone or email, and then fill out the necessary contact information, add a screenshot of the review in question, and you should hear back from them within 24 to 48 hours. So that's how you deal with the bad Google My Business reviews. Have you ever found that you've seen bad reviews on Google Plus or Yelp, if you're in that kind of industry, Facebook, any of those? What's your story? I would love to hear from you on that. So we do have a couple of blog articles that I would love to bring to your attention about customer complaints. So this is a blog article that we wrote a little while ago about how to deal with customer complaints. I really encourage you to take a look at that, because it goes into a lot of detail and verbiage on what you can say if you've received one. And then here's another one too that one of our guest authors wrote about managing customer complaints. So it's a really good article as well. So that's what I wanted to talk about with negative reviews, how to deal with negative reviews. Hopefully that helped. I would love to hear your story on whether or not, has this happened to you? And if it hasn't, it probably hasn't happened yet. It just might still. I really appreciate y'all showing up. Share this and give me a like if you liked what we had to say. And if you have more to say, if I haven't shared something that, that you think is, very valuable to add to this conversation, please leave a comment and let's continue this conversation. I also encourage you that if you do see a negative review, from maybe what you're doing is researching a business or a product and seeing if you want to do business with them, take those negative reviews with a grain of salt, because that business owner may not be aware that review is there and they haven't dealt with it. And it could be fake. Don't put too terribly much weight on those kinds of reviews. So that's it. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.